Yo, what up, squad fam? It's been like 5 minutes, but I'm already back. This webcam is ass, as always. The game I'm playing is ass, as always. Uh, I can't play Nintendo Switch because I do not have a capture card. So this is the closest thing you're gonna get to Super Smash Brothers. Uh, but I did hack the entire game to get all the characters. So
Someone's about to get astroplaned.
yep. Let's see. Last video got copyright claimed because of music, so let's see. That should do it. Let's see. Desktop audio is pretty low already, so I'm just gonna leave it at half, a little bit lower than
I
that.
should warn you, I'm not really a people person.
Neither am I. Um, let's see. So today we're gonna be talking about my opinions on the Nintendo Switch 2. Obviously I own one, so I'm pretty biased already, but I actually think if you haven't bought one, you should buy one right now. Not because I think Nintendo is like morally or because of any immoral standpoint. It's because if you want one, it's gonna go up in price like very quickly. And if you want one, the RAM prices are going up. All the parts that are in here are gonna be expensive. So if you want one, now is a great chance to get one. And I think holding off is actually gonna be worse off for you because the prices are gonna go up. Um, obviously it hasn't gone up yet, but I think it's gonna happen soon. And to the people that are telling everybody to not buy one, stop
Where's
because
Nathan with his
you're
talent
making
stuff?
it so that those people are not gonna buy one, and then they're not even gonna then they're not gonna have one, and then when the prices go up, everybody's gonna be like, I should have bought one when the price was 550 or 450. So let's see. I want to turn the volume down. So if you want one, you should buy one. And I don't care about these Nintendo grifters and these fucking plebs talking about how Nintendo is this like horrible company. Well, only because people continue to say like people that have not been in the Nintendo community for very long, people who didn't have the people didn't have one of these, people who didn't have a 3DS, people who didn't have a Wii, or people who didn't have a GameCube. These people don't understand that Nintendo has been suing people since the beginning of time. Since 2006, they've been suing like ROM sites. They've been suing ROM sites and fan projects. And Project M got took down like 2008 or 2014 or 15 or whatever. Project M's been gone for a while. Yet Moist Critical, somebody who says vehemently he's not going to buy a Nintendo Switch 2, bought one during that time when Nintendo was suing everybody. And this was when Iwata was president. This was when Reggie was still president. These people don't really change the legal sides of Nintendo. This is corporate Nintendo. This is the the angry, the corporate, the vengeful side of Nintendo. The people that want everything that they own to be theirs. Those people are not Nintendo as a whole. The people that made the I don't even think I can go with it. Okay. The people that made Donkey Kong Bonanza, the people that made Metroid Prime 4 aren't the same people that are running the legal the legal department. If you buy this game, you aren't supporting like getting sued. You aren't supporting the people that are you aren't supporting suing people. You're supporting the people that made this game. So that means the developers, the people that the storyboard artists, the people that created the voice actors, all those people, the musicians. You're not support. I mean, sure, maybe some of that money from Donkey Kong Bonanza is going to uh suing another child, but that's not because that's not that's like what else am I supposed to do? Not buy it? Like I wanted to play this game, so I bought it. Like it's just because people seem to think that supporting Nintendo means you're supporting being sued or supporting a ROM sites getting shut down, which isn't true. Like pirating shit doesn't make you cool, it just makes you a fucking broke loser. Like you can pirate you can pirate Wii U games, you can pirate Wii games, you can pirate GameCube games, you can pirate freaking Super Nintendo games, but you can't pirate Switch 2 games, especially if those Switch 2 games are brand new. Especially if like why are you stealing? That's just stealing. Like sure, like the copy of the game that you stole is a duplicate, but you're still fucking stealing. Like stealing a Super Nintendo game, whatever. That console's been dead for 30 years. But stealing a Switch 2 game, you're just committing like a crime. Like there's nothing that doesn't make you cool. Like I'm not against piracy. I'm just against stealing modern games. Stealing like games that just came out. That's what I'm against. But anyway, if you haven't bought a Nintendo Switch 2, just buy one. If you have the money, just buy one. If you don't have the money, don't buy one, whatever. But you're gonna regret it because the prices are probably gonna go up. Um, I don't want to sweat too hard, so I'll put it on medium. But like, you just gotta think with your brain for once. Because this guy, Moist Critical, he thinks he knows everything. He thinks he has this like enlightened opinion about Nintendo. No, this is a grifter opinion. This is opinion from somebody who hasn't thought very deeply about it. And these people, the opinion that Moist Critical has, it coming from directly from Nintendo grifters, people that buy Nintendo products, people that are consumers of Nintendo, people that bought Switch 2 on day one. Those are the people that he's getting his opinion from. Yet he thinks he has this enlightened opinion, yet his opinion is from people who are idiots. They buy Nintendo products no matter what. And like, I will unashamedly buy Nintendo products no matter what, but I'm not like a Nintendo like anti-consumer person. I'm not like somebody who's gonna be like, oh, Nintendo's so anti-consumer. They've done so many horrible things. Like, I'm not like that. Like, Nintendo's anti-consumer, sure, but they're not anti-consumer in terms of the games they make. They're not anti-consumer in terms of accepting and taking feedback because obviously they're not gonna like respond to every freaking Nintendo YouTuber that says their games are bad. But being critical on games, like Nintendo accepts that. They're not like, "Oh, you don't like our games? Well, sucks to suck." That's not true at all. Like Nintendo is obviously like open to criticism. But they just aren't like they aren't like gonna take every single like straw man argument. Like, and it's not even about that. It's not about Nintendo taking criticism. It's about Nintendo suing people for no reason and suing ROM sites just for conserving, for preserving, uh, just for like preserving classic video games, which is needed, and Nintendo themselves doesn't do a very good job of. Like, think of like, is Diddy Kong Racing on N64 online? Is Donkey Kong 64 on N64 online? No, and that's why we need these ROM sites. But like, again, I don't agree with the standpoint that like Nintendo is an evil company because that's not. We're not talking about the same Nintendo. When it like this Nintendo fanboy goes on the internet, like freaking Neckbeard with the Zelda T-shirt and the glasses, when that guy goes on the internet and says he likes Nintendo and he defends Nintendo, he's not defending legal Nintendo. He's defending games Nintendo. He's defending games development Nintendo. He's defending Masahiro Sakurai Nintendo. That's the type of Nintendo that I like. I don't support. I don't. I don't agree with the Nintendo that's shutting down ROM sites. But that's just something that happens, especially with a Japanese company. Like Nintendo is a very Japanese company, and their ideology is a very conservative Japanese ideology, where if you do something that's illegal, it's illegal. Full stop. I don't agree with that. Like, you should be able to use ROM sites. Like, you should be able to play
Alright. This is just something
Earthbound
you
for
said
less than $300. But I just think that some of the arguments, like the arguments Most Critical are making, are completely misguided and come directly from Nintendo grifters themselves. Like, Nintendo grifters are the ones that make arguments, like the arguments that are Most Critical are making, not normal people. And I think he's gotten way too lost in the sauce. Like, all the controversy, anything he covers about Nintendo is only controversy. He lives in fucking controversy. Nothing good that nothing in his life is good. Nothing he enjoys in his life is good. It's all controversy. So of course he's gonna dislike Nintendo because Nintendo is always in controversy, not because they're like the most like morally corrupt gaming company, but because Nintendo fans are goddamn chuds who think everything that Nintendo does is bad and you should not support anything corporate Nintendo does. And Nintendo in the 90s was so much better, and everything they did in the 90s was so much better. But that's just not true. Nintendo was always like this. Nintendo has never changed because they've always been like this. Nintendo has always been the greedy, like, IP protecting company. They've always been, and they have never changed. Nintendo in the early 2000s was just like this. Nintendo in 2014, 2015 was like this. Nintendo during the Wii era, during the Iwata era was like this. Not because it was Iwata's fault, but because Nintendo Legal was always this vindictive, like power hungry part of Nintendo. And I think that's why people dislike Nintendo. Not because Nintendo's like actually makes bad games. Which, let's talk about that. Let's talk about Steam. Let's talk about Valve for a second. Valve has not made a good game in years. Like, think of a good Valve game that's come out in the past 5 years. Like, generally, I can't even think of one. Like, I can only think of games that came out 10, 20 years ago, like Half-Life 2, Team Fortress 2. Like, Valve does not know how to make trilogies. They can only make 2 games, and after that, the game series is completely dead. Like, when are they going to make Team Fortress 3? That would make so many billions. When are they going to make Half-Life 3? That would make billions and billions of dollars. They just haven't made it yet because they're not a game company. Valve doesn't make games. They distribute games on Steam, and that's all they do. Like, the Steam Deck is not a console. It's a PC handheld. All Valve knows how to do is distribute games. They don't make games. Like, think about Valve, how it is now, and think about Valve like 20, 30 years ago. Or it probably didn't even exist 30 ago. But Valve 20 years ago was making bangers like Half-Life 1 and 2. And making bangers like Team Fortress 2 and Fallout. I think Valve makes Fallout, right? I don't know. But just like, I don't think people understand that the Steam Deck is not a console. It's a PC handheld that has Steam firmware on it. That's not a console. That's not a gaming console. That is a PC. Because you can literally put Windows on it without having to mod your console. Whereas if you wanted to put Windows on a Switch 2, you would absolutely have to mod your console. And that's the issue with 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 Valve and Steam is like they aren't a console. The Steam box is not a console. It's a PC. It's a PC box for gaming. And it's not they didn't make any of that hardware. That is all like outsourced hardware from like Samsung and Sony. And like all the hardware producers that make hardware. So I don't think like saying Steam is better than Nintendo is like duh, because they literally only distribute games. They're literally just a glorified eShop. Like, of course, the eShop is not as good as Nintendo, but Nintendo makes games. Valve does not make games. They distribute games. Being a game distributor is easy as fuck. Nintendo does it too. But like, I just don't understand why people are like, "Oh, Steam is so much better. I have a Steam Deck and I'm gonna get the Steam Deck too." You're a loser, bro. You're a chud because you're buying into the Steam like master race like ideology. It's so retarded. Like, you can have both. I think the Steam Deck is a great little console, or not a great little handheld, but it's not a console. It's literally just a PC handheld, and they've been making them for years. There's plenty of companies that make PC handhelds. Okay, Steam is not like this ultra superior gaming company because they don't make consoles and they don't make games. Okay, they're just the same as like Xbox and Sony because Sony doesn't make games either, and neither does Xbox. Mojang makes games. Mojang makes Minecraft. Microsoft does not make games. Sony assigns school projects to other companies. They don't make games. Like you really think like corporate Sony, like like Sony that makes TVs and laptops and speakers. You think that Sony cares about games? You think that Sony cares about Ratchet and Clank?
Who
No,
wants
they
to go
don't.
first?
That Sony only cares about freaking PlayStation and how many sales the new PlayStation is making. They don't care about games. They don't care about shit. They don't care about freaking Jack and Daxter. They don't care about Spyro the Dragon. They, okay, that was kind of dumb. They only care about the console sales, and you're not gonna make any console sales if you have no games. Like you have Spider-Man 2, made by Insomniac, not any Sony internal developer. You have what? Ratchet and Clank. I have no idea who developed that, but sure it's not Sony. Like Parappa the Rapper. When's the last time you made a Parappa the Rapper game? When's the last time you made a freaking uh Sackboy game? Like 2019? Like these like Sony grifters, these Sony fanboys don't understand. Sony doesn't make games. It's basically just an affordable PC. That's all the PS5 is. Same with the Xbox. It's literally just a PC that can't do anything that a PC can do. And like I like that about a PS5. Like I think a PS5 is a great console, but it's just not a company that makes games. They aren't a game company. They are a hardware manufacturer. That is what Sony does. They're an electronics company, whereas Nintendo is an electronics company and a game company. And that's the difference between Sony and Nintendo and Xbox. Nintendo makes games. Microsoft does not make games. Microsoft makes hardware and software for their laptops. They do not make games. Nintendo makes games. Like, there's no reason to have a PS5 if you have like a nice gaming PC. There is no reason to have an Xbox if you have a nice gaming PC. But there is a reason to have a Nintendo Switch. There is a reason to have a Nintendo Switch 2. There's a reason to have a GameCube or not really because you can just emulate that. But like all these exclusives on Nintendo. Like Nintendo Switch already has more games than PS5, and it's been what, like 6 months since the console came out? That's embarrassing. Sony is failing, not in terms of console sales. The PS5 is great. The PS5 console is great. But Sony, the company that makes games, is utterly failing at producing anything good. So I think if Sony just continues to flounder and do nothing with their game studios, then they're not gonna win. They're not gonna beat Nintendo. They're not gonna win the console race. They're not gonna be the best console on the market. Like, sure, they might be the most powerful console. They might be more powerful than Nintendo. They're absolutely not the best place to play exclusives. Like, sure, you have Spider-Man 2 and whatever, Ratchet and Clank and uh, and all that. But if you want to play any of those games, just get a PS3. Get a PS3. Do not get a PS5 if you want to play Little Big Planet, or if you want to play Ratchet and Clank, or if you want to play Jack and Daxter. Don't get a PS5. Get a PS3. Get a PS. Get a get a PS2 if you want to play freaking Ape Escape, or if you want to play uh, whatever that game. Like if you want to play exclusives, get a PS4. That shit's so cheap right now. Like you don't need a PS5 if you want to play like these older Sony games. Like obviously it's a better investment because the PS5 is going to be a newer console for longer than the PS4 is, and it's going to get games for longer. But at this point, if you want a PS5, just wait until the PS6 comes out because they're not gonna freaking, they're not gonna just, they're gonna make a new console eventually. It's been 5 years since the PS5 came out. That's a long ass time. It's been about 5, 6, 7 years since the Nintendo Switch 1 came out, and that was only 2 years before the PS5 came out. So I think it is coming up on when the PS5 is going to get replaced by the PS6. And that's soon. And we're going to see if the PS6 can beat the Switch 2. And I don't think it's going to be able to. I think Sony just is floundering. They just haven't been able to pick up that same core group of
This is
gamers
really
like they
hot.
did in 2014, 2015 with the PS4. I think the PS4 is a great console. It's much better than the PS5 in terms of like games. And if you want a good gaming console, get a PS4. The PS4 is still getting like modern releases. Like if you want to play any of these freaking like Call of Duties, whatever, just get it on PS4. It might look like ass, but at least you didn't pay $500 to play it. Like there's nothing wrong with still playing PS4. There's nothing wrong with still being on an Xbox One or on a Switch One. Like if you have a Switch One, you're perfectly happy. You don't really want to play Bonanza or Metro Prime 4 or Mario Kart World, then don't get a Switch 2. I honestly don't recommend it to you if you don't want to play any of those games. But if you desperately want to play Bonanza and you're morally against Nintendo, just get one. I don't think your morals should like stop you from enjoying and having fun. Like Nintendo legal is completely separate from Nintendo corporate and Nintendo the gaming division of Nintendo and the game development division of Nintendo. Like so let me just show you something. This game not developed by Nintendo. This game not developed by Nintendo, developed by Intellivision. Developed by Intellivision. This game, not developed by in-house. This was developed by an outsourced company. This game was developed by Nintendo. And this game was developed by Nintendo. That's two games out of what? Three. So three out of the five games that Nintendo is putting on shelves is not Nintendo games. They're literally like these are all like of course Nintendo developed the base Mario Galaxy and the base Super Mario Sunshine, but this remaster was made by um an outsourced studio, and they just put a bunch of emulators on the fucking Switch too. There you go. You got freaking Mario Galaxy and Mario Sunshine on Switch. Like it's just this is lazy, but this wasn't Nintendo's fault. Nintendo may have signed off on this, but this was made by an outsourced studio. This is an amazing game. This is an amazing remaster. Of course, it's 30 FPS, and that sucks. And I wish they would make a 60 FPS patch for the Switch 2. But this is still an amazing remaster, and it looks amazing. But this was made by whatever. What is the game? Intellivision. I think it's a television. That's what it's called. This game was not made by Nintendo. This game, the base game, was made by Nintendo. This is a remaster. This was made by an outsourced studio. I think. I can't remember. And if this was just made by one of the divisions, I can't remember. This was made by Nintendo. This is a masterpiece. These games are like, eh. Like, of course, the base versions of these games are great, but this game is a fucking masterpiece. This game is a fucking masterpiece. So, like, you can't just not buy a Switch. You can't just not have one because you're missing out on half of gaming, half of anything that's happening in the gaming community. You're missing out. Like okay, you can skip the Switch 2, but you can't skip the Switch 1. You can't skip the Switch 1. Okay? Look at all these games. This game is a masterpiece. This game's a masterpiece. This game's a masterpiece. This game's a masterpiece. Like this game is a masterpiece. You can't just like sit here and tell me none of these games are good because they are goated. These are the best games Nintendo's ever made. Yet half of them aren't even made by Nintendo. So if you're really concerned about giving Nintendo money, just buy something like this because they only get probably like 30% of the profit. The rest goes to the game studio. So I don't know. Actually, that's probably not even true. They probably get all the money. They're greedy ass fucking assholes. But just think about it for 1 second. If you genuinely don't like Nintendo, then that's not the Nintendo you dislike. The Nintendo you dislike is illegal Nintendo. Nintendo that makes these games. That makes Bonanza. The Nintendo that makes a mid-ass game, Metroid Prime 4, whatever. Nintendo that makes Kirby in the Forgotten Land. This is Nintendo. This is uh this is HAL Laboratories, a second party company. Nintendo owns stock in HAL Laboratories. They don't own HAL Laboratories. Nintendo doesn't own fucking Retro Studios. They may have a stock in Retro Studios, but they don't own Retro Studios. So there's so many things. Like look at all these games. Like two out of the three of these games weren't developed by in-house. And if you're morally like against buying them, just don't buy Bonanza. Just buy these games. Buy these ones. Seriously. I just think people like Moist Critical aren't Nintendo fans. Like, sure, he may have had he may have had a Nintendo 64 growing up. He may have had like a Super Nintendo growing up, but have he did not have a fucking brain cell. He had an Xbox after the N64. He probably had a PS2, and after that he probably had a PS3. So like why does he think he's a Nintendo fan? Because he's not. He doesn't enjoy Nintendo products. He enjoys Pokemon games. That's the only games I've ever seen him play. He plays Pokemon, he plays Zelda. He hasn't played a single Mario game for like 5 years because this motherfucker does not like Nintendo. He's not a Nintendo fan. He's a Pokemon fan. And that's the difference between your average Nintendo grifter and Moist Critical. Is your average Nintendo grifter obviously hates Nintendo and everything Nintendo does. But your average uh like grifter, not grifter, your average like drama grifter like Moist Critical um doesn't like Nintendo. They don't play Nintendo games. They play some Nintendo games. Like I feel like most non-Nintendo fans I know have at least played Breath of the Wild or played Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. But these people don't have a Nintendo Switch. They don't have a Switch 2. So why are you saying you're not going to buy one when you weren't going to buy one in the first place? You absolute fucking loser. You are not a Nintendo fan. You're just a fucking loser. Or you're not a Nintendo fan. You just aren't. And if you're not going to buy a Nintendo console, that's fine. Like I'm not if you don't want to spend money on something, who cares? But if you are a Nintendo fan and you generally want a Nintendo Switch 2, but you're protesting, that's fruitless. That protest is going to come up fruitless. Nintendo's already sold 10 million units. Like, sure, that might just be retailers buying the units, but but they've already made the profit. The consoles have already been sold. And if the consoles just sit on the shelves, then that's better for you because then they'll be on discount. Like the GameCube, the GameCube was on discount for years. Like this console was like $100 at one point. This console was like nothing. Like you could get a GameCube for $50 at Target. Like if Nintendo Switch 2 doesn't sell very well, it will turn into the GameCube and it will be a legendary console with expensive ass games on the second market. There's nothing in there. But like if you want the Switch 2, just buy one because it's gonna become the GameCube market if the Switch 2 doesn't sell very well. It's gonna be like the GameCube where the GameCube didn't sell very well, but the games themselves got very, very, very expensive after 20 or 30 years of them not being on shelves. So, like, um, this game was a Wii launch title. Obviously, it didn't sell very well because it came out on the more successful and better console, the Wii. But this game, um, is better on GameCube, and people are just now realizing the people that bought the Wii version instead of this version now want this version. But now it's expensive. Now too many people want this game. Same with oh, I can't reach. Oh, I think it's this one. Like too many people want this game now. Like now if you want to play Twilight Princess, the two best versions are way too expensive now. Like and that's just because nobody bought a fucking Wii U. Nobody bought a goddamn GameCube. And if you want Bonanza, buy it now, because if nobody buys this game, you're not going to be able to get it for very cheap in the future. So just like look at this game. Like this is an amazing remaster, and this is an amazing version. Like if you genuinely want games, buy them. If you genuinely want a console, buy it. Do not let these Nintendo grifters and these drama grifters tell you that you shouldn't buy a Switch 2. Tell you that you shouldn't buy a console that you want. Because these people weren't even gonna buy it in the first place, no matter what. It's like you really think Moist Criddle actually cares about fucking Nintendo games? No, he doesn't. He doesn't give a shit about Mario. He doesn't give a shit about Metroid. He doesn't give a shit about fucking uh F-Zero. He does not give a shit. He only plays the most popular games. He only plays Pokemon. He only plays Zelda. He doesn't play any other game. Like, have you seen Moist Critical on stream playing fucking uh Mario's Bros Wonder? No, he hasn't played that. I doubt he has. He probably has bought it. He just it's sitting on his fucking shelf because he didn't give a shit about Nintendo because he's not a fucking Nintendo fan. He's a N64 fan. That is way different. Anyways, um, I think that's the end of the rant. Uh, I'm sorry that like for the rest of that video I wasn't even playing the game, but I think I'll see you guys in the next video.